when we started thinking about development over the stages, and this really is about developing that owner's mindset and building the skillfulness that we've been talking about. So it's, the mindset, but it's also the skillfulness. And so we felt that it happened really in stages over life, and that it wasn't too often, we hear, okay, well, we need to have next gen development. And it's one of those things that always, sort of, it gives me a little bit of, well, hold on. Actually, development isn't just for the rising gen in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. We actually learn throughout life. And I have clients who are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who are learning to let go. They're learning to be great mentors. They're learning to step aside and give opportunity and support to the rising generation. And so they're learning how to do that even in their later stages of life. And so we really wanted to represent that. And we thought the best way to do that would be to map out these different stages. So as you can see, there's the young child who's, sort of 0 to 12. There's adolescent, then we have emerging adult. So that's that later teenage, early sort of 20 kind of age. And then there's an early adulthood stage. And we know that, with recent neuroscience, the brain doesn't fully develop until we're 25. And then there's the middle adult stage and the later adult stage. And what we felt was that each stage had a critical theme that was part of that stage. So for example, in the young child, and I don't know if we can build the slide from here, but the young child at stage is really about the importance of diversity and inclusion. And I want to just stop there for a quick second. I won't explain the theme at every stage because it's probably too much detail for what we have time for now. But I want to highlight a couple of them. And I've had someone say to me, well, diversity, inclusion, 0 to 12, doesn't that feel like it's sort of a little early to be starting with that? Because we think of DEI now as being, we talk about it, diversity, equity, and inclusion is such a big piece that we're working on in, sort of our culture, our society, our workplaces. But really, we felt that it started there because we need to appreciate that, for example, even within a family, we have diversity. We have different skills, different personalities that show up in the sibling group, for example, or in the cousin group. You might have that crazy uncle who, there's generational differences, or the grandpa who insists that things have to be done a certain way because that's his belief system from why the business is successful. So our ability to understand and appreciate all of the different personalities, even within our family, and respect those differences. And then the idea of inclusion and the importance of making people feel like their voice is important and it's heard. And so, yeah, we felt that actually starting with diversity and inclusion from the very beginning was such a critical piece. So then as you keep moving through, we have, the adolescents, and their theme is really about experimenting and building confidence and testing. There's a testing ground that happens there. And then you've got the emerging adults, and there it's about developing identity. That's the next two stages are sort of where my children are at right now. I have a 26-year-old and a 24-year-old, and they're building identity. And you know what? They ended up having to reshape their identity. So that happens sometimes where they have to let go of one identity. So I have an older son who is a hockey player. He needs to give that up, and now he's actually moving into his professional life. And that's been a really big challenge in helping them manage and work through that challenge, create the level of independence, because often you'll probably all remember, for those of you who are past this stage, how, we want to be autonomous. We want to make our own decisions. We want to be respected by our parents as adults. And so that's the other piece that's happening here is there's individual development that's going on, but there's also family development that's happening at the same time. And people are moving through those stages. There's multiple changes that are happening. We need to move from an adult-child relationship in these gray stages here to an adult-to-adult relationship within our families. So then if you keep moving, we've got, sort of developing skill and capability. We're in our careers, we're starting our careers, we're building our professional capabilities and thinking about who we are. And then in the middle stages, there's the notion of transitions and trade-offs. So we're thinking about, stepping back sometimes at that stage. We might be taking on the role of owner at that stage in a more serious way, in the sense that the senior generation is transitioning out or has passed away, and we might be taking more on, and those we've got to have trade-offs in terms of our family and our profession and all of the in our balancing ourselves. So there's a lot of balance there that we're constantly working on trade-offs. Then in the later stage, of course, it's really about letting go and really nurturing legacy and helping that rising generation become successful and setting them up for success. So in our book, the book is really structured with a chapter on each of these stages, and then it's bookended by a few other things, which we'll talk about in a minute. But in each chapter, we talk about this theme. We give an example of a family in that stage. We talk about developmental goals for each of these stages at that stage of life. What are we trying to develop in that age? And then we give some ideas around how do you do that? How do you do development at that stage on a bunch of different levels, on the family level, on the individual level, on the business level, and on the ownership level. And we see all of that as part of really that skillfulness of being great owners. So I don't know, Barb and Gaia, if you want to add anything to that in terms of the stages, but yeah, it kind of gives you an overview of how the book is structured and what our intention was.
Wendy, the only thing I'd add is that we intentionally overlap the ages because people are at different, I mean, we can't pinpoint any kind of emotional or other development by age, as we all know. And so that it was deliberate to do that. We were not trying to draw hard and fast lines.
Excellent. Yeah, great.